Good morning.
Thank you for making the time to speak to us. So we're curious, what exactly, where did this plan come from to change school uniforms and to repaint basic schools?
Can you come again?
We are asking, where did this plan come from to change the school uniforms and repaint the basic schools?
Okay. So I want to situate the minister's comment in the perspective that it was made, so that we will be able to appreciate the angle that he was coming from. I'm also mindful not to blame anyone for how this whole story was reported. But, come to think of it, the Minister for Education last Tuesday was speaking at a symposium dubbed the Free SHS Story. And it was an opportunity for stakeholders to meet and interact and share their experiences on the impact of the free senior high school program. The minister was also scheduled to speak at the event, and it was an opportunity for him to also outline the interventions and, of course, initiatives that he employed or the ministry has employed to be able to make sure that they run the free SHS program up to the stage that it is. And so after having, made a presentation largely on the free SHS policy, he took an opportunity to also, take a bite on basic school education. And when I refer to basic schools, I'm referring to from class 1 or KG up to the junior high school level. And the minister even admitted that currently, and of course even from time immemorial, it has been the weakest link within our education landscape. And the fact that it needs an aggressive rebranding to make sure that we restore public confidence in public basic schools. And so I recall the minister even making a point that the average Ghanaian does not want to associate his or her child to any public basic school, and the general lack of confidence in public basic schools, and the responsibility on leadership to take a deliberate step, a very aggressive one, to make sure that we facelift or we take steps to make sure that, we facelift the public basic schools. So he outlined, of course, in terms of interventions in the areas of access, what Gallup and Job has been doing. He spoke about infrastructure development, outlined the model, the 21st junior high schools with the state of laboratories in it, a modern state of laboratories in it, and what have you. And of course, he spoke about the fact that even after all these interventions, we also critically have to look at the perception that people place on the whole, uniform that the public basic schools use. So it was at that point where he made the point that after all these interventions, we may be looking at changing the uniforms of public basic schools so that the confidence and the trust and the value that people will place on the new uniform will commensurate with the interventions that have been also made. So it was not as though the minister made, a deliberate unveiling of steps to introduce new uniforms. But, he was talking about deepening quality, deepening access, rebranding the whole public basic schools, which happens to be the weakest link in the education sector, so that we will restore public confidence. If you recall, he even made a point that he is looking at the time as a minister where the average Ghanaian, irrespective of the class or social class that somebody belongs to, will queue up just to register his or her daughter or son in the public basic schools. So I think the context is very important. The context is not as though the ministry has introduced new uniforms in schools. But he was talking about a whole aggressive intervention or step to be able to revolutionize and rebrand our public basic school, which happens to be the weakest link within the education sector.
Okay.
It just happens that the reports were only centered on the uniforms and reported as though the ministry had unveiled, and some even have introduced new school uniforms.
Okay.
But, it's a futuristic plan.
All right.
As part of the rebranding.
So, to clarify, is there a policy at the Ministry of Education to introduce new uniforms at some point?
So, I wouldn't call it a policy, but I would say, there is an initiative, or we are looking at, as part of the total rebranding of the public basic schools, to also introduce uniforms. But
okay.
That is not something that has happened now, but it's a futuristic proposal, if you ask me.
Is it something that has been, sat down on by the appropriate teams and committees and approved for execution?
Per the extension of the logic of your question, then that will also mean that even if you want to remove schools under trees, you may have to set up committees for approval and what have you.
No, let's stick to the topic. We're talking about uniforms right now.
No,
when we finish, we'll talk about painting. But while we're talking about uniforms, my question is, has this gone through a process of approval so that it is now on your to-do list as a ministry officially that you will be changing the uniforms of Ghanaian basic school pupils?
So, unless maybe you want me to say your question may be a simplistic one, because that's not how things work at the ministry. If we're a policy implementer and you are charged with the responsibility of strengthening basic schools, I do not see how, if you want to, for instance, if you introduce curriculum, you will need a certain approval for certain committees before you print textbooks, same as uniforms. Of course, unless of course you are asking that has it gotten maybe cabinet approval? Maybe if that was framed in that light, then maybe I should be able to provide an answer aligned with how you want me to answer it. But generally, like I said, we have not introduced school uniforms as I speak to you. But I'm saying that, like I indicated, as efforts or plans to restore public confidence and make sure that we place higher value at the basic school level, and of course, as part of our aggressive intervention to revolutionize our basic schools in the areas of access, quality, to make sure that it really has an impact on our socio-economic transformation. Largely, we are considering that. But It is not, a matter of policy where you need approval, because, ministries usually take the approval when it comes to largely policy decisions from cabinet. But it is not, I don't think this falls within that category, unless, of course, I get a superior briefing to this effect.
I see. Well, let me explain why I'm asking you my simplistic question. How much will this cost, and who will pay for it?
So, you see, it's not even a conversation where we've gotten there. Like I indicated, the context is always very important. And I gave a very, tall history about the context within which the minister made this comment, where he was even showing pictures and videos of these new classrooms. And I remember there was even one where in Bosomtwe, when he went there, the school apparently met him in some black trousers, white top, just like the lawyer's dress, and a tie, neatly tied. And he said, as soon as he showed that presentation, there was a general applaud from the audience. And he said, so we should even be looking at restoring confidence by changing these uniforms that you parents do not even like and don't want to associate with. So it is not as though it is a policy that has been introduced. But the context should give you an understanding of how, this comment was made.
Okay.
I genuinely did not believe it would have been a matter, even within the media discussed, because the whole event was largely on the free SHS story. But, of course, in an attempt to also address the interventions at the basic schools and even admit that is a weakest link which needs an overhaul and rebranding, this comment was made. I don't want to say it was misunderstood or misrepresented, but maybe from our side of the ministry, like you've offered us the opportunity to explain, we need to do more of the explanation.
Okay. Well, let's hear what the minister actually said so that our audience can make up their minds of what he meant. Let's hear him.
But I know there are some who are watching from home and around the world, and they are saying, what about basic schools? Have you abandoned them? So they will say, yeah, we'll give you credit. You've done well with senior high school. But if you abandon basic schools, children are sitting on the trees, and you're talking about drones. To them, I have a response. I look forward to a day when parents will line up in front of our public schools and beg to enroll their children. That is the day. And it will soon come. And it has begun under Nana Adutwum. Let me move. This is your junior high school. I hear all the time people talking about the free senior high school, and they don't tell the story of the children who were here. They will have to look at something negative and focus on that. They are not focusing on the story of the children. This is a program that has touched many lives. You see, you don't see brown and yellow. We are rebranding public schools. No brown and yellow, blue and white. And we are changing the uniforms too. This is President Kufuor and Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia's Ghana. We have begun the transformation. There's no reason why we shouldn't. Ghanaians deserve better, and we're going to give them better. Something that we can all be proud of.
Right, so that was the Education Minister, Dr. Adutwum. Mr. Kwarteng, I think we heard him quite clearly. He said we are rebranding the schools and we are changing the uniforms. Right?
I think we are at the same page or the same level, because I happen to be at the program. I was there, and like I indicated, he made a point about the fact that he's even looking forward to a day where parents will queue and beg for admissions at the public basic schools, just like we do at the private schools. And of course, he also made a point about rebranding the basic schools, like he rightly said, and even spoke about we are changing the uniform.
Yes, so that was an announcement by the minister. It wasn't some suggestion of some possible future idea. It was an announcement. He said we are rebranding the schools. We are going to change them from brown and yellow to blue and white.
How do you understand changing?
Please, since you are here to answer our questions, you tell us what he meant.
No, but if I offer an explanation and you want to place a different interpretation to it, how do you want me to go about it?
I have made no interpretation. I simply repeated his words. So can you explain what he meant?
That's why I said that the whole context is very important. And the context is that the minister adduced, evidence of initiatives and steps to rebrand and, facelift the basic schools. And as part of that, he also made mention of course, steps to even introduce new school uniforms. That's why he mentioned about we are changing school uniforms. I don't think we are at a different pace. And I never said the minister did not say that. I admitted that indeed it's part of the overall efforts to facelift the basic school or basic education.
Okay.
And I'm not sure anybody has denied that the minister has said that, but I'm saying that it has not taken effect. It is still a futuristic thing. That if we say we are changing or we are changing public schools to make it better, it doesn't mean that tomorrow the whole public school system will then become like like let's say, I mean the AIS or the big private schools that we all know in Ghana. It's not an event; it's a process, and it will come. It will take time to materialize.
Why blue and white?
We are changing uniforms. It doesn't mean uniforms has been changed.
Why blue and white for the repainting of the schools?
Which other color do you propose?
Is it that you don't know the answer? Because you just have to tell us why blue and white.
No,
you are the ministry. You have brought two colors, blue and white. Explain them. Can't you?
No, but in the first place.
Okay, if you can't, we can move on.
In the first place, see, we are using brown and I don't even know the other color. Have we offered explanation to why it's brown and I don't know whether it's gold. But I mean, why are we also using the same color?
Mr. Kwarteng.
You see, let me. You see, the path that you are taking me to, you make the conversation very difficult. And of course, I have read, I mean, sections, certain reports from online and what have you. If you look at the line that you are drawing or you are pushing me to, I mean, I refuse to be invited there.
Well, Mr. Kwasi Kwarteng, you have decided on colors. We are only saying what led to the choice of these colors. You have the information. Share them with us.
I am saying that. As
We're
I
listening.
speak with you, the minister has spoken of efforts or plans to rebrand busy schools education. And I also made a point about the fact that the current uniform, if you look at the value and association or even the confidence that the public places on it, it is something that, I mean, is nothing to write home
Yes,
about.
but we see, it's not the
So for that
uniforms we're
matter-
talking about. We're talking about the physical structure. We say, why the decision to go blue and white? Why the choice of these colors?
Since when did white become a problem in Ghana?
It is not the
Since when
problem.
did
It is
blue become a
why you
problem in Ghana?
chose. Kwasi, if you just pay attention 1 minute, I don't sit in the ministry with you. So you at the ministry have taken a decision to paint blue and white. I don't know the reasons why you chose blue and white. If you know, hold on, Kwasi. If you know, tell me why blue and white.
You see, the point is that if I'm being very honest with you, I don't think it's a relevant question.
Kwasi.
I mean, from your logic,
Kwasi.
we should be maybe even asking of why all other ministries, maybe we have, certain colors when it comes to the painting.
Kwasi, do you know the answer to the
get this
question?
So,
Do you know the answer to the question? Do you know?
You see, the point
If
is
you
that
don't, you
the
can
question-
say no and
you
we'll
see,
move on. If you don't know the answer, you can say I don't know the answer and we'll move on.
Respectfully, can I tell you something? You see, the whole hegemony, an idea to reduce journalism into cross-examination, I feel is misplaced. Where when you ask questions, you ask with your own prejudices and want to box people into a certain areas of solicitation, certain answers. I feel is not the best. You asked why blue and white. Of course, I responded to you that why were you also expecting any other different colors? It should have been what?
Kwasi, let's put this. I mean, we can go into theories of journalism. That's later, not today. The simple question we asked you, and this will be the last time I'd ask this question. I said, you sit in the ministry. What led to the choice of these colors? Unfortunately, Kwasi, you are not answering the question. And you're going into, you're going around in circles about what constitutes journalism. Let me move on. It's obvious you don't have an answer to this question. Now, you have also said that...
I probably will
Please
not
hold on, Kwasi. Hold on.
I
am, since you want to do journalism, I am teaching you journalism by moving on. Now, let's get to the other part of the interview, where you say that the minister's statement that we are changing is futuristic. Kwasi, we are changing means you are in the course of doing something. How does that amount to plans that you have when you say you are doing it and you are rebranding and we will see these colors?
I did not hear your last question.
I said that when you said to us that these plans about, these talk about school uniform changes and, painting of structures or, the buildings are something that is, these are in the future. But when we played the sound, the minister says, we are changing. We are rebranding. This clearly shows something that is ongoing, currently being done, and not something that you have a plan to do in the future.
You see, to be fair, you would have to play the full audio to Ghanaians to be able to have a better appreciation of the interpretation that you are giving us now. You don't play 1 minute or 30 seconds audio of about an entire 40 minutes presentation and force, how do you call it, an interpretation in a line that you want the interpretation to be. I speak for the ministry. You called, I gave explanation. I even gave the context within which it was said. Then you go and play a 1 minute audio and say that this and this. Indeed. Even if the ministry is taking steps to rebrand public basic schools in the areas of even their uniforms and coloring, what is so strange about that? Is that the first time we are seeing that in this country? And is that so alien to the ministry to be able to implement this? You see, the point I'm trying to make is that we try to make a mountain out of a molehill, which I don't think we should make a very big issue from this. Granted, without even admitting that there are even some schools that have been painted blue and white, or there are uniforms that are even blue and white, which you've not even seen in this country. Do we have to make an issue from everything?
Are you saying that we shouldn't ask you why you do things?
No, you should ask.
Okay,
no
so we are
problem
asking.
with that. But you see,
so we are
when
asking.
you ask questions, of course, I saw your online publications and other. When you ask questions about what informed blue and white and what other view, of course, we all know the line that we are towing.
What's that line? What line is that?
You expected any other colors?
What line is that? Tell us the line we are towing.
I'm not sure this is healthy. We can't be doing this. If your answers are exhausted, let's end this interview.
Oh, you can end it at any time.
You called me.
Would you like us to hang up?
No, you called me. If you are ready, you can hang up.
All right. Thanks for your time. Kwasi Kwarteng is a spokesperson to the minister and the Ministry of Education. We called him because we wanted to know why they have decided to repaint basic schools blue and white, and why they've decided to change school uniforms to black and white.
This is a difficult conversation. A fairly simple one. Could you answer? There is history to making decisions. When people you have voted for and given ministries to run make decisions on their behalf, they are accountable to the people. What was unclear? And many of us started with a presumption, and that's why we needed clarity from the ministry that, this decision perhaps has been taken, let's say, by the ministry or at the highest level. There is an implementation team. Let's say they are starting with painting. They chose this and that color. And with the greatest of respect, policies did not start today. Decision to do things, especially for government, ministries did not start with Kwasi Kwarteng's presence in the ministry. They have been there for a long time. Decision making has always been a bit more rigorous and more, I don't say intelligent than merely saying which other color should we use. They justify it. Even the choice, even how they do it, they justify it. Even an association, a fan association, social groups, they justify their colors. Anybody with an appreciation of design knows that when you're choosing colors, it's not, as they say, it's not out of fantasy, especially when you're doing government's work. So it's possible that the spokesperson of the ministry will not know. It's very possible, or may not have necessarily gotten the fullest detail on it. It is easy to say that, I think I have not gotten the fullest appreciation of it. So, with respect, I will give you the details at a subsequent date. What the gentleman did was misbehavior. And people who are paid with taxpayers' money do not behave in such a manner. And people should be told straight in the face they are misbehaving. If the people are asking you, why have you chosen these colors? So, which other colors should we choose? Really? I mean, we know that we have undermined and brought to the lowest ebb our governance structure. But it hasn't gotten to this poor level. It hasn't gotten to, it's not an exhibition of any competence at all. It's just arrogance at the top of it. Even if the minister was speaking, he would not speak this way.
But this person speaks for the minister.
Yes, and how on earth is he even doing that job? With the greatest of respect. I mean, we're just asking simple questions. Nobody's even challenging the ultimate decision in the first place. Justify it. If you don't remember, you do not know, or it's not been taken, can just tell us that. By saying, oh, blue and white because you have an ulterior motive for asking the question. Dispel the ulterior motive by telling us that because this combination of colors make the rooms cooler, it makes the building looks better. We have had all of these decisions in times past, and their research works on that. I mean, how?
Anyway,